As you can probably tell, I'm trying out many different places to film. So this one is actually in our living room couch, and I just wanted to kind of, because I just filmed this video over here on me cutting Addison's hair. So I was like, might as well just film another video while I'm sitting on the couch in the same exact area. So today I want to talk about time management and productivity tips. So these are specifically ones I've done and how I've actually done it. I think a lot of times people have asked me like, how are you doing your YouTube channel, technology consulting community, which by the way, you should check out if you're interested in tech consulting. It's in the link down below. And also do your podcast and take care of your cats. And like last year too, actually, I bought a house as well. So how did you manage to do all of that? And I did actually make a video how I manage my content calendar and how I organize my work. So that video should be over here as well. But today I'm going to give you exactly how I do it and how do I stay productive, because this video is going to be more focused on how do you stay productive through time management rather than two separate entities. I don't think it's actually something where they're separate. I think they're actually intertwined, for me at least, and that's how I do it. But I thought this is a good one because if you are a full-time anything, like you don't even have to be a consultant, like how exactly do you do this? And even when you do that, how do you balance your personal life, your side hustles if you have any, or even any like of your future goals that you want? So let me know down below like what exactly your tips are. But first off, I'm gonna start off with showing you how I plan my life to begin with on big picture, because I do go into detail in the video from up there on how I organize my life as a consultant and a content creator. But this is specifically how I organize my life. I like to plan everything well in advance, so sometimes I do have some pockets of time if I want to for last minute things, but I make sure I have scheduled times to allow that. So let's say, for example, right now it's March. I have a lot of my trips planned if I had to, like if I could even go, but we'll see with COVID and everything. So I have like my trips planned in advance. So I usually start with bigger entities before I go to the smaller details. And so I like to build systems actually. The bigger details are kind of like what are the main goals of the year. So for example, maybe like last year, actually, yeah, last year it was a better idea of it is like I wanted to buy a condo. So how do I do that? Like I need to work backwards. Okay, well we see that the real estate markets are open around this particular month. I think it was July, I don't remember honestly. And from there, we just went from like, okay, if we take this amount of time to search, this amount of time to close, and then this amount of time to actually move in and get settled in, that's what we were expecting. So we were expecting a good solid 4 months to do all of that, and it actually ended up being 4 months. So from that, I planned all of the smaller details around that based off of my annual goals. So this year I actually don't really have that many annual goals. We don't have anything that big to plan, honestly, because you got to make sure you don't plan that many big things that you can't do in the pandemic. Like I know for sure we want to do traveling. We still want to do traveling, get the vaccine, you know. And so that's like what we plan for, like, okay, well, I know for sure I'm gonna have, like, we're gonna go to California in like sometime in May, like around Memorial Day weekend. So there's that. And then we also have Miami technically, I think. I don't even know if we're still gonna go depending on how it's like. But so far I'm hearing it's not that bad as long as you play it safe in June. And then after that, we don't really have anything else planned. So the most we probably have planned are those trips, plus we need to plan ahead in terms of like what kind of projects we have for work. So I tend to like to kind of see like how's the workflow going to be like in terms of the workload, and if there's travel. Right now there's clearly no travel, but in that case, like if I had travel, I plan a lot of things around there, because we do get in trouble. Like even though you could technically take PTO at any point, and you can actually, is sometimes just not preferable if you end up planning for PTO or vacation or anything like that during a very busy time. So like let's say for example there's a go live, I just make sure to completely avoid anything in that particular month, because you never know what's going to blow up. And if you are there before the go live or after the go live, but not if you're there like during the actual go live, there are going to be so many fiascos that happen. And if you're the only one that really knows all of the details and how to do it, then it may not be worth it to just go on vacation, because they're just going to be bothering you while you're on vacation. So for me, that's what I would be planning around. I don't have a necessary go live for this one because I'm on support. So when I'm on support, that actually means that I'm just on call technically with any tickets and any enhancements that they have that we do, like little small implementations basically. I do have a potential project that is like in a few months or so, so like in May or June or maybe July. So I have to plan my vacations around there, or they plan around because like I haven't started yet, so I have some flexibility there. So with that in mind, I just know like, okay, I started from a year perspective, now I go from the month perspective. The month perspective still can't do much because there's so much ambiguity right now in terms of like how my projects are gonna be like. A vacation I can easily plan around and move it around if I don't have to. But when it comes to the month itself, when it comes to, let's say for example, right now is March, I actually plan my March schedule in February. So this is where like the video over here is gonna go into depth in terms of how I do that and plan a whole month later. So I usually plan it along with anything that is mentally intensive, I would keep for the weekend, because I'm gonna be so tired during the weekday for work, and then also like what if it does end up becoming something that's bigger than usual, so I have to actually dedicate the weekday night for it, so I don't have to feel rushed about the weekday, about the actual thing I need to do. So I do all the mentally intensive, the ones like when I say mentally intensive, I'm not talking about the ones that get really, really tiring. I'm talking about like important deliverables, ones that I have to do 100% on by myself. So like, let's say for example, filming, I can't be working, I can't be editing, I can't be doing something at the same time. I'm focusing 100% onto the camera, and it has to be absolutely perfect. I mean, I could still edit out, but I'm saying that it has to be 100% controlled environment. Then like what I do during the weekdays is that I do have a schedule. So I do like my typical like 8 or 6 or 9 to 5 kind of thing during the weekday. And then I also go to, right after I'm done, if I am done by 5 or 6, I work out. So that is something I can kind of control. So if I ended up becoming later at like 8 p.m., I kind of skip for the day. But if it ends up being like around 5 to 6 p.m., I work out. I tend to like to leave the mornings open because I always have some kind of thing going on in the morning, because I have an offshore team in my project. So they're in India, and they actually are, you know, like time zones are, they work earlier than us. So sometimes there are little emergencies that are there. So I like to keep the mornings open. I also like to keep it pretty open because I like to keep everything very simple. I don't even eat breakfast. I just roll out of bed, get ready, like, you know, wash my face, brush my teeth kind of thing, and I sit at the computer. Then from there, it's work. And on the weekday nights, like I like to do things like thumbnails or editing. And while I do that, this is what I mean by like not 100%. You're like, you could technically do video editing while you're on the go kind of thing. Is that I would watch TV at the same time. And I would also be doing some errands, like maybe I'll be cooking, maybe I'll be cleaning, something like that. Maybe I'll cook, maybe I'll clean, maybe I'll take care of the cats. Like, oh my gosh, I sound like a housewife. But I'm saying that like it's not 100% where I need to stare at the camera for 100% and be multitasking at the same time. So something like that, I can always do it while I maximize my time. Sometimes I do like to edit on the weekends, but sometimes I'm just like, I just want to film, go 100%, and then I have some room to do whatever I want. So something like that, that's what I tend to be doing. I also do a lot of things like, for example, podcasts. So I like to record podcasts like during the weekends, and sometimes for my interviews, I have to plan about their schedule. So when I do those interviews, I usually try to plan weeks in advance. Sometimes I can't because maybe they do a last minute change, or maybe that like I just noticed like, oh shoot, we didn't talk to each other about it, so I plan it a little bit in advance if I can. So again, this is what I mean by like I plan in terms of the little pockets of time I'm allowed to move things around, but there's some things that are non-negotiable, like filming. And when I say planning in advance, like let's say for example it's March, I would actually be filming for videos in April. So at the time of this recording, you're going to be seeing this video in April, maybe even in May. I'm pretty sure it's going to be April though for this particular one. I plan everything out so I know exactly what this is for. So let's say for example, if this weekend I felt very sick, or I got the flu, or I don't know, I hope I don't get COVID, but something like that, then at least I'll have other weekends before then, before it actually goes out. And I have actual content that's already ready to go out. Like I think right now I have about 5 to 6 videos. So right now I have about 5 to 6 videos. So that's like about 2 to 3 weeks, where if I didn't have enough time and I decide to delay it, I could. So I have 2 to 3 weeks to do the video, which honestly, like one video for me, if it's like 15 minutes or so, it only takes me 20 minutes to film, to like set up and then do it, and maybe some cuts here and there. And then some cuts here and there, and then from there I would just be editing it during the same exact week. So like let's say for example this weekend, I would actually be editing it during the next week, during the actual weekday night. So that's what I would be doing. And how I manage my time actually is mostly by these trifecta, or like a triangle. I do professional, so career-wise, that could actually be anything from my YouTube channel, from my job, from my podcast, from TCC, all of that. Oh my God, Sora, why are you doing that? Sora! No! Oh my God! So that was one big tip, is that I like to plan in advance so that way I know what to expect, and I plan for buffer rooms. So either the buffer room could be by weeks and by the times within the week, in case like maybe something I couldn't do on Monday, I could do it on Tuesday, or maybe I could do it on the weekend. So I have those little buffer rooms, and I also like the buffer room. The buffer room is allowing me that if I do go ahead of schedule, I can actually do something for fun. So let's say, for example, if I'm filming something for 3 hours or so, finish in 2 hours, it's just like, I could go outside for an extra hour, or I could treat myself for like bubble tea or something. And then I also focus more on knowing like how intensive things are mentally, so that way I know that I could stay productive by that. So like editing or thumbnails, I would do that during the weekday, and then for anything else, I would make sure that I can do it during a time slot where I can dedicate 100% of that time towards that. So that's how I would plan it in terms of that. My main takeaways here is really knowing all of your bigger goals and your bigger focuses at hand, and then planning around that for each time. So I like to break it up from the year, the month, the week, and then by the day. So when I break it up by the day, I do like, here's what I plan on doing for the weekday. Here's what I plan on the weekend. And I think like honestly, like back then, if you guys didn't know, I'm an INTJ, and I'm actually like 100% J. So I really like to plan everything. So back then I would plan everything to the T. So I'm not saying anything about like, oh, we're gonna go biking at 10 a.m. I would literally we're gonna go get the bike at 10 a.m. We're gonna go down the stairs. We're gonna be ready by 10:15. We'll be biking for 45 minutes. We'll come back at 11 a.m. We'll come back upstairs at 11:15. And then we'll be having lunch at 12 p.m. So that's how granular I was back in high school and middle school, and maybe even college, but we'll see. But I do everything off of my own calendar. So I have my personal calendar for anything about like my own personal things. So let's say, for example, working out. And that calendar I actually share with Addison, so we are on the same exact page. I also have my business calendar, which is my YouTube podcast, filming, and like anything that involves calls or whatnot, or dedicate time where you need to know that this person is busy. I share that to him as well, so he knows like, okay, this is the time where she has this call, I need to be quiet, or I need to get away from the office. For my work calendar, he also has access to that too. Since we're both at Accenture, it's so simple to share my entire calendar, so he knows exactly like, oh, I have a call at this time. Okay, so you're gonna do lunch then because you don't have a call at this time that we have lunch. And maybe if he has calls for the entire day, I will see it too, and then I will plan for lunch anyway. So that's how we kind of work together. We like to see who has availability, who doesn't have availability, and then work around that. We are not necessarily the most strict. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to record a podcast episode this weekend, and then ended like, yeah, we don't know what we want to talk about, well, I don't want to do it, then we'll just move it to the next weekend, because there's no pressure since we do it in advance. And I know a lot of people, they might feel like, oh, if I do it so advanced, like then how am I gonna, what if I end up seeing it on my calendar and I don't want to do it? Well, I think that in the end, it's like that's less of a time management and productivity problem, more of a motivation problem. So if you guys want to see a video like that, just let me know down below, because I have so many things I do to keep myself motivated. But I think I'm a little bit different than like, really, how should I keep myself motivated? It's more of like, if I have it on the calendar, I'm gonna feel guilty if I don't do it. So that is actually one big tip if you're trying to see how you can actually do things. So let's say, for example, if I didn't have workout on my calendar, I won't work out. Let's be real here. But if it was actually on my calendar, I'm gonna feel guilty if I don't, because it's on the calendar. I'm looking at it. I know I'm not busy at this time because I didn't plan for it. So I have no reason why not to, unless like maybe I'm like feeling cramps from my period, or maybe I'm like sore from another thing, or tired or busy, or something ran over, something like that, then okay, I will do that. But I think like overall, it really is like working to your own schedule and working to what you think you can do. I plan for productivity. I don't plan for time. So I even plan for like times that I want to give myself as a wiggle room. And a lot of times people might go like, oh, but if you do give yourself a wiggle room, what if you do spend like 5 hours on something that was meant to be 3 hours, and then now you have to push something through? Well, I always like to keep myself reasonable on that. So if, let's say, for example, I know for sure that maybe this video is a little bit hard to film, maybe it will take 3 hours instead of 1 hour, then I'm just gonna be like, I'll adjust it along the way. And it's based off of what I know, and you can't know what to do unless you get started. So let's say, for example, you want to go biking and you want to go to bike from Brooklyn to Long Island, which I think is crazy, but people do it. Then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna plan for 1 hour. just unrealistic, but it ended up being an entire freaking day and you like miss a lot of plans because of that, then at least like you'll know from the next time you do it. I like to do mostly things on routine on repeat, but I know like this time, each time I do it, I either get a little bit more efficient or productive, or that I know like exactly how long it is and I plan for that in advance. So if you don't get in the habit of planning, you won't know how to actually work around it. I think it's a little bit like counterintuitive. It's like you plan for spontaneity is like what I like to say. And when you get into the fields of consulting, you'll get used to that because you have to plan for spontaneity. You have that buffer room, and then you always have time. Like let's say for example, you run over. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna use a team? Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna go push things later? Or are you going to, there's so many ways you can do it. It's not just one clear-cut way. You just really need to figure out like how would you want to do it? Prioritize what your goals are. So like I starting with the macro ones and then go a little bit smaller and smaller. Get a little start with the macro ones and go with the micro ones and the smaller details here and there, and then work around your goals. So I like to evaluate my goals like annual goals, then quarterly goals, then monthly goals, and weekly goals, and from that I can plan around backwards. I like to go backwards and see like, okay, I have to do this by the end of the month. Okay, how do I do that? And I plan it on my calendar, but I do it in a realistic way. I'm not like pushing everything in there. If I think like I want to do something and like, let's say for example, I want to push out 10 videos in 1 month. If I want to film 10 videos in 1 day, I know that's not possible. Like I already know my limits. Like you need to know your limits. It's also to keep you sane, because if you want to stay productive, you want to make sure you do it in your own pace. You don't want to force yourself to do something. So that's also why I like to do that. It's like, let's say for example, when we were moving into this condo, actually, like I had a lot of videos in backlog, like about 8 videos or so. And then by the time I was done with moving in and everything and having our actual backdrop set up, we only had 2 videos left. I only had 2 videos left. So I was like, okay, well now I gotta go crunch time. But because I took PTO for moving and all of that, I had the time, but I made sure I did it on my own pace. I'm not gonna do like 8 videos all in one day. I did like 2 videos in one day, 2 videos the next day, 2 videos the other, and then I'll be editing bit by bit, but at least the videos are there. And then keep on going. So it seems like you're on a hamster wheel, but once you realize you're on a hamster wheel, you can start to stop and evaluate like, why am I on this hamster wheel? And then how can I make sure it's better so that it's in a more controlled environment. So hopefully this helps. I know this could be a lot more vague and probably seems specific to content, but this could be very similar to, let's say for example, you want to learn a language. You can do that too by like breaking it up into little bits by bits. So for me, I do Duolingo. I do like literally 30 minutes a day, and then I make sure that I do that. I don't really focus on 30 minutes specifically. I don't even put it on my calendar. I just do it whenever I feel like it. But I made sure that like, because of like the whole streak thing, I make sure I do it before then. And you can also do that for something like working out. You can do it for something like making sure you get a job. So you can do like, okay, I'm gonna do 10 applications this week. But then I know like, okay, well next week I'm gonna be working on a lot of exams, so I'll be doing fewer applications. You don't need to be that strict with your goals. You could be strict about the value or the quality, but don't be strict about quantity, because you wanna make sure you really give everything that you do all it's worth. So thank you guys so much. Let me know down below if any of these tips help. I think like a lot of people I spoke to, they don't plan that far in advance because they feel like if you plan that far in advance, you won't be flexible, but you can plan for flexibility. But if you start to break it down, all these big initiatives into like what exactly it's in there, what do I need to do to get there? You can get, if you don't know how to get there, you can speak to some people on how they get there and maybe what should they prioritize. And from there, you just break it down into little bite-sized pizzas, a lot more manageable. So all right, thank you guys so much and see you guys next time. I might do like a video on goal setting and how I break it down myself. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. So comment down below if you're interested. Thank you guys so much and see you guys next time. Bye.